this morning we are going to hear some live music this morning. So I'm very happy to see that the lovely Steve Wharton has appeared on my screen. There he is waving on a nice multicolored looking sofa. And fingers crossed he might have a guitar nearby him at some stage as well. So we'll just going to sing us a song. Yes, okay. So we'll hear a song later on and hear what Steve's doing around Cumbria. We're also going to hear from Amy at Theatre by the Lake, where they've had a record-breaking or a very healthy Christmas show, The Borrowers, just coming to a close on Saturday. And Amy's going to talk to us about a scratch night that's coming up at Theatre by the Lake. Chris is going to talk to us about a new mentoring scheme that the network is setting up on your behalf to help people progress in their careers and help them get support in the direction in which they want to go to with their arts and culture careers. So Chris will tell us all about that. But we're going to start off with Miranda Prag, who is called Mainspring Arts on your screen, but her name is Miranda Prag. And there's a project that she is in charge of and is going to tell us about, which is particularly supportive towards neurodivergent women. So Miranda, I'm going to ask you a few questions and you'll give us the practicalities of what it's all about as well. So Miranda is based in Lancaster, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and tell us a bit more about Mainspring Arts, first of all, Miranda.
So Mainspring Arts is an organisation that supports neurodivergent artists and celebrates neurodivergent creativity. We've been going since 2015, and in that time we've run quite a few different projects, most of them sort of development opportunities for neurodivergent artists or neurodivergent people who want to be creative. So we've done projects. Our first project was a series of workshops for a group of 8 autistic authors that led to them each writing an original short story, which were then published in an anthology. And then we've done some similar projects to that with playwriting. We also run a series of online courses aimed at neurodivergent creatives, and they've focused on different art forms, including poetry and oral storytelling and creative writing. And yeah, we haven't done anything in person since before the pandemic until this project that we're about to talk about now. So that's very exciting. And it'll be our first project that we've run since moving to Lancaster, which did last year. Okay. So that's also very exciting.
And help me understand the word neurodivergent. Just help us all understand, what exactly does that mean?
So essentially it means anyone whose brain sort of works and processes things differently to what is considered typical. So we're, as an organisation, we're not sort of prescriptive about what that means. It's more of a sort of self-identifying term, and people identify as neurodivergent for quite a few different reasons. People who are autistic or have ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, but also some people because of mental health issues or because of brain injury, for example. So yeah, there are lots of different reasons why someone might consider themselves neurodivergent. Okay, but and essentially it means their brain works differently from the typical.
Yeah. And before we get into the nuts and bolts of the project, are there many other organisations, arts organisations like Mainspring, that are particularly aiming to help and support people who are neurodivergent, or are you a bit of a one-off?
There are some others. There aren't that many that specifically focus on neurodivergence only, but there are lots of organisations that are doing loads of really great stuff to support neurodivergent artists as well.
Okay, great. All right. Well, tell us about this project then that's aimed at people in Lancashire and Cumbria.
Yeah, so the project is called SpringTide, and it is a residency that will be happening in Barrow, and it's aimed at young neurodivergent female artists. So the age range is 18 to 25, and yeah, it's aimed at artists from Cumbria and Lancashire. And the residency will be happening in June this year. There'll be 6 artists who take part, and they'll be supported to develop their artistic practice and skills, creative skills. And yeah, the workshops will be focusing on socially engaged practice. So they'll have a week of workshops, and the workshops are going to be led by Danielle, who's here, Danielle Chapel-Aspinall, So that's really exciting. So Danielle will be leading on designing those workshops in collaboration with the participants. So everything will be designed around the participants and their individual needs. So yeah, everything we do is always quite carefully tailored to the people who are involved, so that we can be as supportive and as accessible as possible. And then after the workshops, they'll have a period of mentoring. Each one of them will be matched by a mentor. And all the practitioners that we work with are more established neurodivergent artists as well. So the residency will be leading towards the participants coming up with an idea of their own for a socially engaged project, and then they'll then have a few months where they're being mentored, and that'll be a chance for them to sort of explore and develop their project idea and try things out. There's no sort of set outcome that we're sort of expecting from them in that. It's just a chance for them to yeah, sort of explore and test things, and there'll probably be an opportunity for them to try something out in front of an audience if they want to, but that's optional.
And have you done, you say you've just moved to Lancaster with the organisation, have you done this sort of project elsewhere in the country? Yeah,
so our first projects like this happened in London, but they were open to anyone from anywhere in the UK. So yeah, so all of the everything's sort of provided, so the participants will have accommodation and travel provided for a time in Barrow, and a dedicated access budget, and if they need to bring someone with them, then they'll be able to do that as well.
So Danielle's going to show them the bright lights of the big city of Barrow as well.
Yes.
Evenings. And so is there any sort of, so there's no financial commitment from people who are applying for this at all? It's all funded? It's all funded, yeah. And also there is a sort of £500 contribution to them for taking part in the residency. And they'll also receive £300 seed funding for their project as well. Okay, and is this Arts Council funded, or have you managed to get some money from elsewhere? Or
it's from elsewhere, actually. It's from the Ragdoll Foundation mainly, and then a small amount from another trust called the AOK Trust. And also, I forgot to say that we're delivering it in partnership with Barrowfull in Barrow, so they've also contributed a bit of cash as well.
Okay, what's the Ragdoll Foundation? I don't know that.
They are a foundation that they were set up to support young people, so for a while all of their projects focused on children and young people, but they've recently opened a new sort of strand of funding which is aimed at young women, and that's the one that we applied to.
Okay, and by the way, if anyone's got any questions, then stick your hands up. But do you feel there's a gap in the market, as it were, for this kind of project, Miranda?
I think so. I think there are not very many projects that are aimed specifically at neurodivergent artists, and that are tailored, very specifically in this way. There are other projects. There are lots of projects that focus on neurodivergent and disabled artists, but I think, not so many that are solely focused on neurodivergent artists.
Yeah, okay. And then so the outcome, I think, just to remind myself of what you said, there's a sort of it takes place in the summer. The neurodivergent artists may or may not produce something that they may or may not perform or show off or display publicly. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Okay, all right. Does anyone want to ask Miranda any questions about any of this? I don't know whether anyone's been on anything like this before themselves or is interested in it. This is the sort of thing that I think the network can help spread the message about, and hopefully in the comms that we've been doing this week, it's about getting the message out to potential participants. Is it open to anyone? I mean, obviously it's based in Barrow, Miranda, but is it open to anyone in Cumbria? So if you're based near Carlisle or something, as long as you get yourself down to Barrow, that'll be okay.
Yeah, it's open to anyone. Well, it's open to neurodivergent women aged 18 to 25, but who are from anywhere in Cumbria or Lancashire. Well, anyone who lives in Cumbria or Lancashire. Okay. And so travel will be provided for them. to Barrow.
Yeah, it sounds massively accessible the way that you've designed it, which is to your absolute credit.
Oh, thank you. I hope so.
All right, Amy's got a question and then Kate's got a question. So Amy, if you go first.
Yeah, it sounds like a brilliant project. And I've actually taken part in projects in Barrow, travelling from Carlisle, and it's definitely been worthwhile. So yeah, don't let that put you off. I just wondered what the follow-up would be, because sometimes when, often these kind of projects start, and it might be people who've not considered themselves as an artist before, and it's I've kind of gone through this myself a bit, where you just get going and then you kind of, you put all your focus into this project and then you finish it and you're not really sure what the next step should be, where to go next. So just wondered if there's sort of follow-up support as well.
Yeah, so we will keep supporting them to sort of take the next steps after, and that will depend on what they want to do. They might want to sort of try and take their project further, or yeah, if we can sort of connect them with other practitioners or other creatives, then we'll do that. So yeah, we'll see what the participants want to do, and we'll support them wherever we can.
Kate?
I suppose I just wonder why. I think I know the answer to this, but I'm just kind of interested to hear your answer. Is why would a young girl, 18 to 25 or 6, whatever it was, in Cumbrian need this kind of opportunity, particularly?
Well, I think lots of neurodivergent people. I mean, there's all sorts of different types of neurodivergence.
Yeah.
But I know lots of the neurodivergent people we've worked with have found it quite difficult to access mainstream opportunities, just because, yeah, there are various things about them that make them difficult. And so if there are young girls or young women who want to do something creative or would like to have a career in the arts but feel like the opportunities currently available are restrictive or not aimed at them, or they don't have the confidence to go for them because they feel like it isn't for them, then I think this project aims to be something that that sort of gets rid of those barriers and enables them to take part in something like this.
I imagine it's I mean, I don't wish to, everybody's different, and we're talking about individuals, but I imagine it's a sort of leap of faith to put yourself forward for something like this if you've never done it before. So knowing that there's particular support, I imagine is going to be really useful and important.
Yeah, and lots of our previous participants have, when they've given us feedback, they said it's been really nice to be in a group of other people who are similar to them and who understand them, and that's a really positive aspect of it. So I think, just sort of the community and the network is another reason.
I'm sure you will do this, but I think those are two really important things to stress in terms of attracting people in the first place. That because it sounds brilliant, and I hope it goes incredibly well.
Oh, thank you.
Jackie?
I think I may as well take this opportunity to come out because in the last few months I've been diagnosed as neurodivergent. I'm on the autistic spectrum and also with ADHD. So it's particularly interesting for me at the moment because I'm just researching the subject.
And how does that feel, Jackie? Does that feel like I'm not going to say how I think it might feel, but how does that feel to have been diagnosed at whatever age you are?
Well, I'm 65, yeah. Not only that, but I've been a teacher for most of my adult life, and I specialised in children on the SEN register. So what's that saying about physician heal thyself? I didn't know. I had no idea at all. So, and now suddenly everything fits into place. So, it just makes sense of all my faults, if you like. But so yeah, I've sort of it's quite fascinating, really.
It must be. It sounds like you're an expert in the field already, and now, and now
Well,
you're
that's the thing
submerged
about
within it.
it's about Aspies, isn't it? They research, so they bore the life out of everyone else with
Yeah.
with their specialist subject.
As Alex has just put into chat there, I think, Jackie, there are a lot of us out there who are undiagnosed. Well done on getting diagnosed.
Yeah.
Miranda, is there a reason that you're focusing on young women?
Well, yeah, we've wanted to, or we've sort of had the idea of doing a project specifically aimed at women for a while, because lots of women do go undiagnosed for quite a long time. Lots of women that we've worked with have talked about how they sort of had to, or they learned to mask their neurodivergence when they were younger. And that's incredibly stressful and can be really exhausting and yeah, just incredibly hard to sort of keep up their whole lives. And so I think, yeah, there is a need for something that does focus on women and young women. And so, yeah, when we found out about the funding from the Ragdoll Foundation that was specifically aimed at young women, then we thought that's a great opportunity to do that.
Okay, Danielle, and then Lindsay.
Hi. Can you hear me okay?
You're a bit quiet, so just come closer to the microphone if you can, but carry on, Danielle, we can hear you.
So this opportunity for the diverse range of neurodiverse people to develop the confidence with the professional practice and to test ideas out through the socially engaged practice in a really experimental way can open up doors to new ways of working in an informal and structured way program that we're going to tailor it to them, and then through experiential knowledge through working on mentors, being a mentor, on the other end of the mentor programs with Dash Arts, Disability Arts Online and Outside In, I'm able to contribute as a previous participant that I can help inject with this new program. So it's really exciting to be able to open new ways for people to work in this practice and getting over those barriers as well. So yeah, it's going to be really exciting, and I'm really excited about the project to start. So
It's great that you're involved, Danielle. Well done for getting involved.
yeah.
Right, last question probably to Lindsay, and then we'll wrap up and we'll move on and we'll talk about some folk songs. But Lindsay, over to you.
Hi. Yeah, I think Danielle's covered a little bit of it there, just questions. I think it's a fantastic project around with Danielle. I work on a great place like Dales, which works with young people. We have worked with some neurodivergent young people, sort of developing their creative careers and practitioners. I'm just kind of wondering about how they identify as neurodivergent, how when they're applying, because there's a big thing with confidence. And I absolutely agree. I think some of the peer support is really important. That's really worked with some of the neurodivergent artists we've worked with. I just wonder how you put yourself forward if you're not sure. You know, we're just talking about diagnosis and things. How's that going to work?
Well, within the actual application, our first stage application is very simple. We just ask them to confirm that they're eligible. It's basically a couple of tick boxes, and the one about neurodivergence just says I identify as neurodivergent. But yeah, I understand that sometimes people might not know or might be unsure or might not be diagnosed, but we don't say that anyone has to have a diagnosis.
Yeah, and it's hard with young people anyway, because we've had just no, yeah, that's fine. It's just having the confidence to be able to say that. But we'd love to support with sort of engagement and that sort of thing. So anything we can do to do
thank
that,
you.
You know.
Yeah, sometimes we do get people emailing us asking, because maybe they haven't sort of applied the term neurodivergent to themselves before, and they say, well, you know, I'm this and this and this, but am I neurodivergent?
Yeah.
And we always say, well, basically sort of we define neurodivergent as someone whose brain works differently from the typical.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, and if you think that's you, then yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, we've just made it very clear that they can email us with any questions, and
Yeah.
hopefully, yeah, if they're unsure, they'll come forward and ask.
It's just such a young age, I think, sometimes that even without that, they can be very confident about doing stuff. But I'm sure, you know, it's really encouraging to hear. So yeah.
Great, thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Miranda. So just give us the practical stuff again, and then perhaps you can stick a link into chat as well. So just remind us of closing dates and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, so the closing date is the 30th of January. They can apply on our website, and I'll just put the link in the chat now. Yeah, that's it really. Yeah, just go to our website, apply. And there's a second stage of application, but there'll be a short list of 12 who are selected, and then we'll support those 12 people to do a longer application. So yeah, but the first stage closes on the 30th of January.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming along this morning to tell us about it, Miranda, and good luck with it. And
thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
That's my pleasure, and I look forward to following progress of how you get on. So, and thanks for supporting people in Cumbria.
Thank you.
Lovely. Okay. So before we go to Steve and hear about the lovely songs that are emerging around Cumbria at the moment, thanks to Steve with his microphone and his guitar, or might just be the voice. Derek is just reminding people of the grandiosely styled Allerdale Players who are performing Cinderella in the Braithwaite Institute, just off the A66, between Keswick and Cockermouth, coming up soon. And as Derek says, any resemblance to either arts or culture would only be accidental. I can confirm that I've seen Derek in his makeup in previous years gone by, and it's quite a sight. So we look forward to him treading the boards. Derek, anything you want to add to that? Who are you this year?
I am merely myself.
Well, that's enough for most of us.
Too much, maybe.
So that's going on at Braithwaite. Right. Let's cross to Steve. Steve, where are you this morning?
I'm at home.
And where's home?
Arlecton, which is near Ennerdale. So it's halfway between Whitehaven and Ennerdale. Excellent.
Nice part of the world. Lovely part of the world. So Steve, I'll let you introduce yourself about what you do and what you're doing at the moment, and perhaps tell us a bit about this project that you're involved in at the moment as well, because I know you're kind of on the road at the moment.
Yeah, well, unaccustomed as I am to talking, I'll have a go. So my name's Steve. My background was actually in photography, and what got me into folk music was that when I came out of Cumbria College of Art and Design, working as a photographer, I worked for Cumbria Arts in Education and a few other organisations, documenting artists working in schools and with community groups. The first two that I worked with were Jane Dudman and Mike Willoughby. So there I got a fantastic introduction to visual arts and also folk music. And then I started photographing bands like Striding Edge and other bands around, and also did a little bit of work for Furness Tradition on their festival. And then I was fortunate enough to work for the Royal Opera House education team, both up here and down at Covent Garden. So that was quite nice having, you know, the reason why they asked me to go down was they could see that I could engage with the kids and prat about and do the drama side of things and gain their trust to then get the good photos. So, but then, yeah, it was working with Striding Edge and then doing some of their album covers and working with Furness Tradition and also at the Lancaster Maritime Festival that I got my introduction to folk music. And something kind of like really struck a chord, and it's taken, you know, it's taken a good 20 years to actually come round to the place where I am now. But what I'm doing at the moment is I've got a collection of contemporary Cumbrian songs, and some of you will know that from about 2015 through to 2020, I was doing a lot of performances of Cumbrian songs and stories. And why do I think that's important? Because it connects us. And particularly in the arts, we have to find some kind of meeting grounds where those that are less culturally engaged can have a gateway introduction to other aspects of the arts, and then get them more interested in coming to some of the what you could term nationally known and internationally known oh, there we go, that's my book, nationally known acts that are coming to our arts centres. But we've still got a lot of work to do, and I think that folk and folk music and songs that come from that can be one of the linchpins for unlocking that relationship. So as part of my journey, obviously I read up on folk music and started listening to music from and about Cumbria. So not just Cumbrian artists, but also great people like Archie Fisher, who did Witch of the Westmoreland. And then whilst I was living abroad, I was living in China, but I was on the internet going through things like the freshly digitised archives of the Ulverston Workhouse, and also reading Sue Allen's dissertation as well, so that I was getting a real good understanding of where I came from, where the music around me came from. And then when I came back, what I wanted to do was pick up on something that I'd found abroad, which was that I'd worked in and around a lot of UNESCO sites in Finland, Czech Republic, China, India, Philippines, and there were some very proud performances of their traditional repertoire. And I don't think we have that. I really don't think that, we've got some champions that are trying to push it forward and keep it going, but we don't have a wider base actually pushing it as a real valid art form. And yet, up here in Cumbria, it's very easy to tune into Radio Scotland, where you get traditional music pretty much all of the time. And yet, Radio Cumbria, more likely to play De Ream or, pop songs from the 90s. So, a lot of the songs that I wrote, some of them just came from my own interests, heritage, events, delving into literature, setting, some sort of poems by Wordsworth, or like resetting words by Robert Anderson to tunes, just to try and, in some ways, bring it to an audience fresh. And also, what I wanted to do was to be able to slip a lot of these songs into sets that I was performing in pubs alongside covers, and they would be enjoyed equally as much. And so I found there was a little bit of tweaking needed to go on, like fewer verses, kind of make the choruses more sing-alongable, and not expect everybody to just stop and listen because it's a Cumbrian folk song. You've still got to earn that listenability. So some of the songs I wrote were through commissions from when I've worked on different festivals or films. And the other thing that I'm wanting to do with the concerts is to show that it's not just me that's writing songs about Cumbria. Dave Camlin joined me at the Crafty Bar, at the Settlement tonight. I've got Lawrence Weldon. He's going to be singing, a song that me and him wrote together, but also a couple of songs by John Ray, with music by Terry Howarth. So it's saying, this has always gone on. This has always been part of our tradition, and it's rich. And if you've not heard it before, but you live in Cumbria, you might like it because you're going to recognise a lot of the places, some of the events that went on, some of the terms that are used, and there's the meeting ground. So in terms of how I got into it, I went back and did my degree in 2018. I then pestered them to just let me use the recording studio, so I taught myself how to use Pro Tools, and I made this, which got a 4-star review in R&R magazine. I then followed it up with another one. These are not Cumbrian songs, but it was with another Cumbrian artist, Danny Wood, And so that's the finest collection of dad rock this side of Shap, right? And then I did a film called At Home in the Steep Places, which is about Bill Peascod. But the thing about that film is that essentially it is a very long folk concert with some brilliant music that really drives the story and complements it by Striding Edge, Mike Willoughby, and some Australian artists as well. And so it's knowing music that let me work with it so well as an editor. And then coming around to the book, 2016 I wrote a story for The Beacon to engage kids with their science, space science exhibition, and it was a story called Silwedeth. So that came out last year. I self-published that under the 28 Days Later banner, which was the podcast I started. And that's a science storybook for primary kids. It's all about stone circles, but then it goes into space science. So, and then once I'd done that, I thought, okay, let's start putting some of that work that I put into the performances into a written form. And that's how this came about. And although I've written some of the songs on different instruments, I made sure that all of the tunes are with music notation and guitar tablature, because I thought that was the most democratic, and the guitar chords. And then there's lyrics, and then lots of background notes about the songs. And in the start of the book I say, okay, these are my songs, but they don't just have to be my songs, they can be your songs. And also, if you start singing them and you really feel it could do with a middle eight or a verse, add it, because it's your song as well. And just try and keep the tradition going forwards. So there we go. So lots of dates coming up. Settlement tonight with a concert, and then a settlement on Sunday, doing a songwriting workshop to try and get other people to kind of like share their songs and stories, teach them some techniques. Then I'm in the hallowed grounds of HMV on Monday and next Saturday, playing away to hopefully a different audience. Over at IAB, where I'm going to be joined by Sue Allen, who I'm also doing an evening with at Cakes and Ale. And Sue's going to be talking about her book about Robert Anderson. Then I'm crossing the border down to Lancaster. So if anybody's got any advice on the jabs I need, that'll be good. And I'm doing a concert down there just to test the waters with, okay, how are these songs going to be received, out of the county? Over at the Gather, hopefully an evening later in February, organised by Furnace Tradition. And then after that, just keep plugging away with like little village halls, hopefully a hookah hall as well. And we'll just see what happens. So there we go. So I've got a song, and I will post, and it's a join-in song. All of my songs are join-in songs. If you look in the chat now, that's your chorus. All right? So I wrote this when I was living in Prague, but I knew that we were going to be moving back to Cumbria soon, and I got quite excited, and I thought, okay, I'm going to write a little song that's going to be almost like an introduction to my sets. And I thought, Christy Moore, he's got a little song that's an introduction to a lot of his concerts. I thought I'll do something a bit like that just gets all of that enthusiasm in one place. So it's a little chorus which goes, "Has gone back to Furness, has gone back to Cumberland, has gone back to Westmoreland, has gonna find my Eden." So, 7 years ago, it was almost like I was inside the mind of Cumbria County Council when they were deciding what to call the new authorities. Furness, Westmoreland, Cumberland. There we go. So, and I'll start with the chorus, because this is your bit. Has gone back to Furness, has gone back to Cumberland, has gone back to Westmoreland, has gonna find my Eden. You got it? Good. So, it goes like this. Who knew the water of Eden flowed from the gates of hell? 90 miles and along makes gaze till it reaches the Solway swell. Oh, has come back to Furness, has come back to Cumberland, has come back to Westmoreland, has gonna find my Eden. There's many a weary night spent by the winding mere, and many a soul who has been fed by the sight of the fellside deer. Oh, has come back to Furness, has come back to Cumberland, has come back to Westmoreland, has gonna find my Eden. And there looked out the Quakers in the 18th century, so well throw back from the Indies cried out against slavery. Oh, has come back to Furness, has come back to Cumberland, has come back to Westmoreland, has gonna find my Eden. And no king wears a crown of rocks in the spot where he was slain, not far from where the Romans trod and Jacobites did proclaim. Oh, has come back to Furness, has come back to Cumberland, has come back to Westmoreland, has gonna find my Eden. King Pocky fired his cannons around the Derwent fells, echoed from Skidder's heights to Borrowdale and Catbells. Oh, has come back to Furness, has come back to Cumberland, has come back to Westmoreland, has gonna find my Eden. There we go. Well sung, everybody. I hope you sang along.
That was great, Steve. Thank you very much indeed. As Phil says, another earworm. Brilliant song. Thank you very much indeed. And Phil knows his words and his lyrics.
Yeah. I've just noticed there's some questions in the thingy bob that's just come up.
Yeah.
Lancaster dates, it's the 11th of February. If you go on my website, which is stevewharton.uk, and that's all of my socials as well, just at stevewhartonuk, then all of the dates are there and the ticket links as well. Yes, I know Ed Heslem. He's a fantastic musician, although he does like putting numbers in his chords, doesn't he? He plays things with 7s and 2s and 9s in them. But I would say some of his treatment of folk music is almost verging on jazz. It's going to another place. I like it.
What sort of reception do you find when you're doing the concert, Steve? What sort of people are coming along, and what sort of age groups, what sort of backgrounds,
It is across the board, and that's something that I've really tried to do is the Cumbrian songs and stories sets that I was putting together. It could equally be enjoyed by, because there was such a repertoire of it, could equally be enjoyed by children, folk aficionados, people who prefer other kinds of music, because you're meeting them on the kind of like, there's different points where you can meet them. One of the main things has been meeting them as Cumbrians and people who live in Cumbria, and also people that are then interested in heritage, people that are interested in current affairs, and so it's showing them that songwriting can travel to all of these places and can also take us out of ourselves and give us a bit of empathy. And every time you write a song, you're not reinventing the wheel. You're following the people that have gone before, and you're also honouring the things that have been written, and also the legends in the area that are there. So I've got a song about the heart-shaped wood at T-Bay, and that doesn't discount any of the other legends about that wood, but it just says this song is about the 4 guys that were killed working on the railways in 2004. And I find that deplorable, because nobody should go to work in the 21st century and not come back. And so that's what I wrote my song about. And you get people like Mike Turnbull in Kendal. He's got another song about the heart-shaped wood, and it's brilliant. And these are all the stories that we can share and keep passing between us.
Yeah. And Sue, I think you said you're going to sing as well as speak at these gigs that you're doing with Steve. Is that right?
Well, the one at IOB, I'm just introducing him. That's all. That's all. But the one at Cakes and Ale, I need to discuss this with Steve, because I will be singing a couple of things as well. I'm not just talking. And a little PowerPoint, a mini one. I need to talk with Steve first.
Okay, that's fine. We'll leave you to liaise offline, as it were. But there's some lovely stuff, lovely words, Steve. And do you kind of do the words first and the tune second, or the other way around, or how do you do it?
It's a mix. It's a mix. It's there's so many different techniques to songwriting, and when I've been challenged about can you write songwriting, can you teach songwriting? It's like, well, it's a craft, and there are certain technical aspects that you can practice and you can hone, and then you've got those tools. And when inspiration hits, or you're given a commission, you then get your raw material and you work with those tools, and you chip away at something and form it. And the same with any writing thing. You might put it in the drawer for, a week. I've had songs that have been in the drawer for 7 years, and then you get them out because you realise what's going to work. And always, one of my main things is thinking about the audience. How is the audience going to connect with this song? And I suppose one of the big lessons I had was, okay, this is the song, but what's the introduction? How is it going to be introduced? And that was a masterclass that I learnt from supporting Vin Garbut back in, I think it was about 2002 down in Bristol. And he just had the audience in the palm of his hand, and I thought, that's what I want to be able to do, because what he was doing wasn't just chat, it wasn't just funny stuff. He was giving the audience the key to really unlock that song for themselves.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Steve. Danielle. Just come off mute, Danielle. That's it.
Wow. I think I'm your new fan. So when you're down in South Cumbria, I'm in India when you're in Lancaster. So so yeah, when are you in South Cumbria?
Well, my mum still lives on Coughlands in Ulverston, so I'm in South Cumbria quite a bit.
Oh, say that again, sorry.
My mum still lives on Coughlands in South Ulverston, in Ulverston, so I'm in South Cumbria quite a bit. But it looks like I'm going to sort this with Gordon hopefully this month, mid to late February.
And do we get to see Sue Ellen as well? Oh.
You've got to travel up here if you want to see Sue.
That's only for very, very special occasions.
So all this information will be in your website, or in a follow-up after the Cumbria Art Culture Network, or in the Facebook group.
Yeah, Steve, if you could stick your website in chat once we finish, that would be great.
Yeah. I'll just pop it now as well.
Yeah.
It is very easy.
All right. Well,
just stevewharton.uk.
Thank you. Excellent. Well, there's lots of stuff going on, and Steve, anyone who can sing like that a cappella at sort of 10:10 in the morning is doing a pretty good job as far as I'm concerned. So thank you very much for performing for us as well. I was joining in, by the way. I think the cats were impressed. I'm not sure anybody else was. And thank you for sharing that, and good luck with the tour and the book. And I've seen it in a few shops as well, so obviously it's getting out there. So thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, everybody.
Nice to see you. All right, thank you. Kate, did you just want to mention something about Helping Hands and some sort of opportunity before we hear from Amy about Theatre by the Lake?
Yes, very quickly. Speaking of opportunities and of singing, Helping Hands is a Cumbria-wide project that is all about getting more people to volunteer in cultural organisations. And there are 30-odd organisations across Cumbria that are part of it. One of those is Cumbria Opera Group, and they are looking for volunteers to help with their 3 tenors performances, which are on the 4th and 5th of February in Carlisle and Kendal, and they're looking for people to help with those events. So I'm going to put the website in chat, and if you are interested or know somebody who might be interested, please look at that particular opportunity for event stewards and get in touch via the email address or phone number that is there. So yeah, Cumbria Opera Group, a group of young professional musicians and opera singers, and they are top draw. So do, if you can't help, go along and listen, because they're amazing.
Thank you very much indeed. Right, let's go to Keswick and Amy Clues, who is one of the people that runs Theatre by the Lake and has got a piece of work going on at the moment, for which I know the deadline is very soon, but plans for a scratch night coming up, which has been done before. So Amy, tell us a bit about that, what the purpose is and what sort of people you might be looking for.
Great, thanks Tom, and thanks for having me this morning. Yes, my name is Amy. I'm the producer over at Theatre by the Lake, and part of what I look after is our artist network, the Cumbrian Creatives Network, which, for those who don't know, is a free to join network of artists, a little bit like Cumbria Arts and Culture Network, where we just we send out opportunities that we have. There's mixes, there's little micro commissions, stuff like that. So if you're interested, it tends to be for artists who have some kind of a performance bent because we are a theatre, but we do welcome, it's a broad church and we welcome everyone. So you can sign up to that on the website. I'll pop a thing in the chat. One of our regular events that we do is a scratch night. We do it once a year at the moment. It's called Open Space. And basically we are looking for 4 artists or groups of artists who have a piece that is actively in development for which they would benefit from getting feedback from a live audience and giving it a test. We've done 3 of them so far, 2 in person and 1 online during the pandemic, which was interesting. And we've got our next one coming up soon. So the deadline is actually Monday, 5 o'clock. But if you are interested or you know anyone who might be, it's a dead simple application process. It's like, give us 400 words or a short video, whatever works for you, telling us a bit about yourself, what your idea is, and how this opportunity might help you to develop it. So we've had all kinds of things before. We've had comedians wanting to try out a bit of a set. We've had musicians wanting to try a bit of a set, some new songs out. We've had various bits of new writing or theatre-based work, and we've had everything in between. And quite excitingly, quite a lot of those pieces have gone on for further development and ended up kind of getting some Arts Council funding. And we're welcoming back, I don't know if anyone here knows the lovely Jules Carter, who was at our last scratch night trying for the first time kind of to theatricalize some of her poetry about fell running. And she's now got an Arts Council grant and is coming back to do some R&D with us next week, which is very lovely. So yes, we each of the 4 groups will receive £500 to help towards kind of the development of the piece, and then 15 minutes in the studio on Saturday, the 18th of February. So if you're not interested in applying, please do pop it in your diary, come along and support, because after every 15-minute performance, there's 15 minutes of live feedback, and it's really lovely. It's really warm and constructive, and people get really on board to help out with development. There'll be specific questions like, did you understand this bit, or what do you think I meant here? So really structured questions to help the artists to develop their work. So I'll pop the links in the chat, but yeah, the deadline for that is Monday, 5 p.m. ish. I'll read through everything and hope to get back to everybody by Friday. We're not overwhelmed. We tend to get like maximum 20 applications, 12 to 20 is kind of average. So try and get back to everybody by Friday. And then, like I said, the actual event is on Saturday, the 18th of February in the studio in the evening here at Theatre by the Lake. So that's Open Space. And then a really quick one, we've got another couple of opportunities coming up soon, just in case they spark anyone's interest. We're about to launch the Forge Festival, Theatre by the Lake Young Company. I think you've had the Knotted Project on recently talking about the festival. So the Theatre by the Lake Youth Company for that will be going into recruitment this week. And we're also hoping, I haven't confirmed it yet though, so if it turns to nothing, apologies, looking for a kind of theatre design associate creative placement that I'm hoping to recruit for, that might be kind of on attachment with us with the designers we're working with over the next few months over this spring. So keep your eyes peeled, join the Cumbrian Creatives Network for any updates on any of those upcoming opportunities. That's me.
Thanks, Amy.
Thanks,
really
Tom.
good example of, I think there's 13 NPOs, National Portfolio Organisations in Cumbria these days. So these are people that get guaranteed 3 years of funding from the Arts Council, as you probably know. And it's, I think they have a responsibility to reach out beyond just their building, as it were, if they've got a building. So I think Theatre by the Lake has got really good in the last couple of years at doing that sort of stuff. And this is another really good example of, reaching out into the community beyond just its confines and seeing what's out there. So good luck with that, Amy. It sounds like a really good project, and that performance on the 18th of February might be fun to go along to at the studio. What a nerve-wracking experience that will be, blimey. Anyway, good luck with that, and thanks for coming on this morning, Amy.
Thank you very much.
Stuff. Really good-looking programme for Theatre by the Lake coming up in the spring and the summer as well. Lots of new stuff coming along once the Borrowers is over. Right, just to finish off then this morning, I'm going to hand over to Chris Bridgman, who is overseeing a brand new mentoring project to help people in Cumbria who are working in the creative sector. So Chris, over to you to tell us a bit more about that.
Thank you. Yes. So we're CACN is looking to offer people the opportunity to be mentored in a very structured and supported way. So we will look to very carefully match mentees and mentors, and there'll be a limited number of places because we are putting financial support into this, and we have finite funds, although we're reasonably comfortably supported for the next year or so. What we're looking for is people to express an interest in being mentored, people at any stage of their career and in any area of the cultural or heritage sector. So it might be an individual artist looking for support in developing their artistic practice. It could be somebody working in curatorial role in the heritage museum sector. It could be somebody working in a managerial role in an organization, building-based theatre, or any other kind of organization. It's looking for support in developing your work and your practice from somebody with a greater level of experience and insight. And obviously we're also looking for mentors. So if you feel you've got a good load of experience under your belt that you could share with people, be very interested to hear from you if you might be interested in taking on that role. It will be free to the mentees. There will be some financial recompense for the mentors for their time and effort. And we would hope to also be able to support travel costs for one-to-one meetings. We're looking for this to be done as a mixture of one-to-one meetings and some virtual online or telephone conversations over a period of up to 6 months. And we're kicking off at the beginning of February, so the kind of crucial dates. We like people to be available on the early evenings of Monday the 6th of February and Wednesday the 8th of February, because we're looking to not just kind of give people their phone numbers and addresses and say get on with it. We really want to make this a structured and supported process, and that week in February is when we will introduce the mentors and mentees to each other, establish kind of shared understanding of what the process might be, what the aims are, and kind of clarity about where people are starting from. We're hoping this is going to be the first of several of these processes. It's our first dipping of a toe in the water, and as I say, the number of places available are going to be very limited, and the number of mentees we take on will be determined, or the mentees that we take on from those that apply will be largely determined by finding exactly the right match for them in terms of the mentors. And we're looking to build on the learning from the Changing Culture program that was run a couple of years ago that involved a significant level of mentoring in that. So if you're interested as either being mentored, or possibly you think you might be able to offer mentoring services, please contact hello@cacn.co.uk, the usual email address, and let us know.
And Chris, the idea for the mentoring, did it come from, you know, the survey that was done amongst members to see what sort of things they'd like?
That is one of the questions that we asked. You know, would you value some one-to-one mentoring? Several people responded to say they would be, and most of them gave some contact details. So I've been getting back in touch with them and saying, look, we're getting this started. But it's something we've kind of all, you know, from very early on, we aspired to offer this as part of the CACN provision.
Great. Amy?
Yeah, I just wondered is there any, for the mentors, is there any training or anything to kind of upskill them?
Well, those two sessions at the beginning of February is looking to, yes, to induct both people from both sides. So we're not just saying, you know stuff about this, you know, get on with it with this other person. It is very much, we're looking to provide a structured and supportive process for everybody. Yeah. So you don't, if you think you might be a mentor, you don't have to kind of have a certificate. It is very much about upskilling from that end as well.
Thank you, Chris. That was me sharing my screen to show you the website on the CACN webpage where all the blurb is, and then my machine went funny for about 3 seconds.
Okay.
That's lovely. So great to respond to demand from people, and mentoring. As someone who's been involved in mentoring and coaching at work, I think it's a real lovely slow burn support mechanism. And I'm sure people here have been mentored or have been mentees to other things in other organisations. I can't recommend it enough. I think it's a great opportunity and a great reaching out from the network. So thank you for organising that, Chris, and good luck to anybody who wants to get involved in that. Lovely. I see it's 10:30 on the dot. So I think we'll call it a halt there. Thank you to Miranda and to Steve and to Amy and to Chris for contributing formally this morning, but lots of other people have contributed in other ways as well. And it's really nice to see everyone's faces. So thank you for your time this morning. We'll be back again, same time, same place next week. No idea what we're doing next week yet. It'll come to me in a dream probably at some stage. Have a lovely weekend, everybody, and see you again soon.